Okay, three, two, one. Hey guys, it's Conyer. Today I have made custom fireworks. Hey! So out of all the data packs I've made recently, this one definitely took me the longest. And to really show you how it works, the first thing I'm going to need is some rockets. There, that will work. And a bunch of blaze powder. Now, it'll probably be best to go into survival mode for this next part. The basic idea is that if you throw blaze powder on the ground, you can then take a firework rocket and place it down on top of the blaze powder to convert that firework rocket into a fillable rocket. Bear with me, I totally will explain later why this quote-unquote crafting recipe is so strange. Now, if I try to launch this fillable rocket, it will just keep giving it back to me and saying no template blocks detected nearby. So I should probably show you what a template block is. Basically, the idea behind this creation is that I can build pretty much any structure that I want, and once I'm done with it, I can then place my fillable firework at the center, and yes, if I was in survival it would have been used up, in order to give myself a custom firework rocket. If I launch this rocket, it will actually display the same pattern as that little structure I just built. Now, I can hear you asking, why of all things did you choose to build this out of white glazed terracotta? And that is because I have chosen that particular block to represent the regular firework particles like you see here. Now, my initial intention with this data pack was to allow you to achieve multiple different colors of those firework particles, but I was very sad to find out that using the /particle command, you actually can't change the color of that particular particle. It only comes in white. But I still wanted you to be able to add color to fireworks, and there is a way to do that that's just a little bit more janky. If I start adding concrete to this build, the concrete will actually represent different colored particles. They just won't be firework particles. I'll show you what I mean here. I don't really know what this is supposed to be, but it's blue and that's what matters. If I go ahead and place this fillable firework back there, you'll see that the entire thing gets the particles again to show that they were registered within this firework. And if I launch this new custom firework, you'll see that it actually has little patches of blue where I put that blue concrete, as opposed to the original, which is still just the original structure I built. And if you're wondering, the reason I have it set to this particular time of day is because it makes the actual firework particles stand out quite a bit because they are perpetually lit, but it's also not dark enough that you can't really see the colors of the custom particles. That's pretty much the gist of this, and I'll go ahead and go over the crafting recipe again for the fillable fireworks. You drop a blaze powder on the ground, click it with the firework, and then you will have a fillable firework. You can also drop multiple blaze powder, and when you click it with the firework, it will just use up one item from the stack. If I pick this back up, yeah, there's 54 left, which is how many rockets I have left. Now, the reason this recipe is so strange is because I wanted the rockets to keep their initial properties when you made them fillable, which brings me to my next point. This is an actual firework that I crafted using the regular in-game method. It crackles and pops and, has that whole burst effect. When you craft one of these fillable fireworks, you can actually use a firework that already has effects added, and when you fill it with your own custom effects, those effects will be added on top of its existing explosion effects. If I drop a blaze powder and click it with this firework, this fillable firework now, when I give it a custom pattern, will explode on top of all this other stuff you see in the tooltip. Now I just have to decide what I want to actually add to it, and I think I have a pretty cool idea. I started off by placing a structure block just to show the bounding box of a 9x9x9 area, because that is the maximum distance from the fillable firework that you can place blocks and have them actually be registered. And what I'm kind of going for here is like a really big blown up version of that structure you make to activate a conduit. The structure block is really nice for seeing when you've gone out of bounds. There we go, that's looking pretty good. Maybe add a little bit of color to it. And something else I'd like to do is actually add some wool. Now, like I said before, the concrete here corresponds to colored dust, and the wool actually corresponds to colored particle effects. Now, the reason I don't like to use the wool all that often is because as soon as the firework explodes, the particles really do not hold their shape. They kind of fall apart immediately, but they do still provide some cool garnishes for an already really solid pattern. One other important thing to note is that I can actually add blocks that are not either concrete, wool, or white glazed terracotta. If it's any other type of block, I can still add it in and it just won't be registered. So it's really handy for placing a location where I'm actually going to place the firework in order to register it. Remember, in the 9x9x9 area, you've got to place the firework at the center. So that's why I put that block of stone there. And there we go. This firework just registered that entire build I just made. Let's actually try lighting it off. And there's my little structure, and it was in the middle of that already existing firework burst effect. I'll go ahead and do this again with a firework that doesn't already have its own effects, just so you can see a little bit better what it actually looks like. There's the structure, you saw the dust, you could see a few of those colored particles racing off to who knows where, and the dust itself stayed pretty stable. Alright, so this is the point in the video where I go around to a few things that I have already built for testing purposes and show off how you can really make some interesting structures with this. This one's kind of boring, I used it for testing, but honestly it is pretty, so I will go ahead and show you what that looks like. Look at that, that's cool. For the purely colored ones, it might actually be nicer to set it to day so you can fully see it better. Yeah, look at that. Here's that little chibi creeper that I've actually shown off at a much smaller scale in one of my previous videos. I had to shorten him a lot to fit inside the bounding box, but here we go, here's his firework. There he is! And that actually kind of reminds me. One drawback about this data pack is that you actually cannot rotate these fireworks once you have registered them. So no matter where I launch this creeper, he will always be facing the same direction. If I want him to face a different direction, all I have to do is just build the structure facing a different direction. And lastly, I've tried to make a little mock-up of my character. Here, look. He's kind of cute, isn't he? Just realized I've never actually taken my cape off for a video, so yes, my hair actually does that down the back thing if you take the cape away. There we go, and boom, look at him. It's kind of hard to see. And of course, this brings me back to the video intro where I actually made one of my face. Yeah, there we go. And if you're wondering, all those letters that I used in the intro were built right here. It's kind of a complete mess, but it worked. Now, one last thing, if you have one of these fireworks that has effects on top of a custom pattern, these types of fireworks have multiple different explosion conditions. One is when they time out, which is when I have told the data pack to display the custom particles, but also the ones with their own burst effects will explode early if they contact an entity or block. I tried and tried and tried to get the custom particles to actually display on one of those fireworks when they're about to explode early, and I just could not find a way to do it that was like internally efficient or whatever. So unfortunately, this same firework that will display the custom particles up there actually will not display the custom particles if it explodes early. That is like the one big thing that is a major bug that I wish I could have fixed, but it seems minor enough and hard enough to fix that I'm just going to kind of leave it as is. Just know that that exists. Other than that, I think that's going to about do it. Datapack is down in the description for you to download. Thank you so much for watching.